Okay, welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live event, Exploring Body Image Through Self-Compassion with our presenter, Janine Scheffler. My name is Dion, and I am your in-store nutrition consultant for Choices Markets Abbotsford. Before I actually introduce Janine, I'm just going to go over a couple of housekeeping items. After the event, look for an email link you will be sent. That will contain a survey, and we will ask you for your mailing address. That is to send you this, which is a nutrition buck. So that's a coupon that you can spend in our store, $10 off if you spend $50 or more. So you're eligible for that for attending here live with us. Feel free to ask questions as we go along, and you can do that through the YouTube live chat. You will need to have an account to do that, so sign into your YouTube account now. And if you don't have one, you can quickly sign up for one and submit questions. If you're unable to do that and you do have questions, Janine will provide us with her contact information, and you can reach out to her as well. Also look forward to future events, and you can find those at our website, choicesmarkets.com. And now I will introduce our speaker, Janine Scheffler. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Health from UBC. She's a Victoria-based certified intuitive eating counselor and a licensed Be-Body Positive facilitator who works from a health at every size perspective. In her coaching practice, Janine integrates her education to help people learn how to eat based on individual body cues and create self-care practices, as well as find a balance in all aspects of health. She's a professional development instructor with Be Real USA, teaching a weight-inclusive approach and spreading body confidence across Canadian schools. So with that, I'm going to open it up and hand it over to you, Janine. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you everyone for attending and taking the time out of your day. And thank you to Choices Markets Nutrition team for helping to put this together, and to Dion for co-hosting. So yeah, I'm Janine. A little bit about me and how I came to do this work. So after studying nutrition and working with a doctor in a clinic, I became very aware that I was struggling with my own eating disorder and body image concerns, and was very trapped by diet culture. And I felt like I didn't have the tools to really help people or even myself. And I didn't like where I was going in my earlier career. So when I had conversations about health and nutrition, I found that people weren't struggling with a lack of knowledge, but they struggled with their relationship to food and especially their bodies. So I knew I needed something different, and fell upon intuitive eating back in 2016 and have been completely immersed in it ever since. It was life-changing and eye-opening for me, and now recognizing that it's very much a social justice movement. So I wanted to focus on body image because there's lots of body image concerns, weight discussions, and anxiety right now, going into summer and things opening up after COVID. So I thought this would be a helpful topic. Before we begin, I wanted to state the unearned privileges being white, cisgender, straight-bodied, or thin privilege, and able-bodied. And by having these privileges, I may elicit bias that I'm not yet aware of when explaining information and resources and the tools. I've tried to diversify the information in this seminar, but as you may already know, research on marginalized populations is limited. And I've included a slide at the end of the presentation with other professionals that you may resonate with or feel represented by to offer more appropriate support. And I also want to acknowledge and thank the radical fat activists and the Health at Every Size founders who paved the way for these body image discussions. So just a quick disclaimer that the content is for educational purposes only and not intended for medical advice. So the outline for today, body image, we're going to start with that, go into kind of the root causes of why we're struggling with it, and go through a pretty lengthy definition. And then we're going to introduce self-compassion and then the support tools and how self-compassion tools can relate to body image. And just a quick little slide of resources that you can take. And if there are any questions, we can do that after. So why do we struggle with body image? I'm just going to introduce and define the following points here as they relate to body image. Each concept can be a presentation on its own. So this is definitely a brief overview, but it's necessary to be exposed to the root cause. So patriarchy can be defined as a system of society or government in which men, and specifically white cisgendered men, hold the power and use it to their own advantage. And women, and more specifically Black, Indigenous femmes, are largely excluded from it. And so the system is used to keep us small and preoccupied with appearance. And these things, things like being told that, fatness is unattractive, for example, and then we spend centuries focusing on that. And some resources to better understand systems of oppression and how it relates to body image are books like Fearing the Black Body by Sabrina Strings, Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison, or visiting the website Nalgona Positivity Pride, which has lots of seminars on this topic as well. So weight bias, it can be defined as the negative weight-related attitudes, beliefs, and assumptions and judgments toward individuals who don't fit, our unattainable narrow body size. That's established by the oppressive dominant culture. And it does not motivate behavior change. It really creates shame. And because straight-sized bodies can see the inequality in society of how people in larger bodies are being treated, obtaining a smaller body is made to be a goal for, to avoid being discriminated against. So it is so very common to experience body image insecurities. And these feelings are, they're valid and the pain is very real. And at the same time, we can understand that the root of these insecurities is fat phobia, and to really make peace with our relationship first and to make peace with our relationship to our bodies, for our mental health, and to also help end weight stigma. So we can all experience weight bias, but if we have thin privilege, we don't experience weight stigma, and we'll define that now. So weight stigma refers to social stereotypes and misconceptions about people perceived to carry excess weight. And these stereotypes and misconceptions lead to discrimination and prejudice toward those people, and it can affect those individuals' access to education, employment, equal pay, medical care, causing health and social inequalities. So if you have experienced weight stigma, the Health at Every Size website has some resources. And I just want to kind of introduce a little bit of language. So our education system and public health have, linked weight to illness, which isn't actually supported by our research because it doesn't account for weight stigma and the effects of dieting. So terms like obese and overweight that we use and we hear actually contribute to weight stigma and are therefore harmful. So we can replace these terms with things like higher weight, lower weight, straight sized, larger body. And that's the language that I'll be using in this presentation. And we'll look at language a little bit later on as well. So I invite you to, revisit these concepts, I did kind of run through some big definitions, and this might be the first time you are seeing these terms. And I really bring this up because we can ask ourselves, what belongs to me and what doesn't? And that might be helpful, to explore the reasons why we're suffering. So we can kind of separate those two, what belongs to me and what doesn't. Okay, so body image definition. So we are going to first define body image. And then again, I invite you to explore this on your own as well, because the academic definitions and even how, others may define it might not capture your lived experience and what it really means for you. So I really love having clients create their own definitions of nutrition, health, and body image, because our authentic voices can get suppressed with all of the, information we're fed. So it's really rediscovering what works for us and what we value. And, yes, we can pull from the research, but ultimately you are the expert of your body, and, preferences, values, life change or life stages differ from person to person. And again, like the research is predominantly studied on white females, so it's not diverse, and we need to be very careful if and how we are using that information across populations. So we can create our definition based on, our unique story, what captures our lived experiences, changes throughout life. So our body image definition and, our experience of that changes throughout puberty, menopause, becoming pregnant, maybe a diagnosis, and our body image can even change throughout the day. So it's definitely not a linear process. It's very dynamic. It can be kind of looked at through the lens of communication. So listening to cues that our body is sending us and continuing to learn about ourselves, bringing us closer to discovering who we are, learning about our skills. So that can be a part of body image. And relationships. So we can kind of think of, general relationships that we have in our life with friends and partners and family. And, those relationships involve trust, understanding that there will be differences, ups and downs, respecting each other, developing a closer relationship because of all these aspects. So just like how we can have a relationship with another person, we also can have a relationship with our body. And understanding that, our body image is going to have, ups and downs and that kind of thing. And you might be surprised that, appearance isn't listed here. And that's not to say it can't be included in your definition. But as you can see, body image, is much more of a broader concept than we often think. So body image, another way is to look at it kind of more succinctly, is body image is experienced by all bodies, regardless of size, and is how you feel about your body, not how your body looks. So that's what we're really going to work on when it comes to improving body image. It's how we feel, including thoughts leading to those feelings. And so this is where it kind of gets a little bit, quite broad, and I think that's important. So we'll spend some time here. So a lot of people can't imagine, loving their bodies. And the idea of the term body positivity is unavailable and, doesn't capture what body image means to them. And I've seen activists actually wanting to change body positivity to fat acceptance to really capture what we're after here in terms of the movement. And so far, research has identified 10 ideas relating to positive body image, and I'm including all of them here to offer more of a diverse understanding. and each of them can be used as kind of a coping skill or a tool. So first is body appreciation. And it's an intentional choice to, one, accept one's body regardless of its size or imperfections, and two, respect and take care of one's body by attending to its needs. And that can be through engaging in health promoting behaviors. And three, it protects one's body by resisting the unrealistic, narrow standards of beauty. So it can actually be quite protective, just to simply be in the world. And positive rational acceptance is accepting the distressing event and engaging in self-care and rational self-talk. And we'll review that later on and what that might look like. And body image flexibility. So this represents a compassionate response to embrace rather than avoid or escape or try to just alter the content of negative body-related thoughts and feelings. And this concept comes from Buddhism. So it's kind of facing what we're experiencing and not trying to avoid or suppress it. Body functionality. So this is recognizing and appreciating the various functions that the body provides. And that's, simply said, is like breathing. And this might look different for everyone, or it may not be something that you want to use in your toolkit or your definition. So for example, you might have a diagnosis such as MS, and this may not be a concept that is actually helpful for you. Attunement. So this is the ability to sense and respect the body by regularly engaging in behaviors to attend to its needs. So this is being fully attuned to the body's needs and using that information to guide behavior. So things like acting on hunger cues and, going to the washroom. Body acceptance. So body acceptance by others occurs when individuals perceive that their body shapes and sizes are generally accepted by important people in their life, like their friends and partners, family, society. And that can be communicated indirectly, so simply by not focusing on or commenting on their bodies. And when individuals are not preoccupied by the need to meet the appearance-related expectations of others, they may be freer to divert time and energy spent on what their body looks like to how their body feels and functions. So this is really about, developing those true health behaviors. What does our body need and to function? And expanding beauty. So having a flexible definition of beauty, appreciating different appearances and styles, personal styles, while also indicating that beauty is reflected from inner positivity, like confidence, and taking care of bodies through grooming, like brushing your teeth, and also other health behaviors as well. Body sanctification. So this represents the perspectives that one's body has spiritual significance and meaning, and therefore needs to be treated with respect. Body pride. So this is a strong, positive, self-conscious emotion towards the body that results from engaging in valued behaviors. So people who resonate with this concept have pride for their body, for what it can do for them, what their bodies represent in terms of their connection with others. And body pride may be particularly adaptive for members of culturally diverse groups whose positive representations of the body tend to be marginalized or absent within Western cultures. So participants who helped define this concept mentioned that it's really about being connected to culture, being healthy, and being thankful to be a part of that culture. And lastly, positive body talk. So people who had a positive body image tended to intentionally disassociate from peers who engaged in negative body talk and purposely surrounded themselves with others who talked positively about their bodies. So they found that was helpful. So I know this was a lot, and I do have a handout as well that lists the terms and descriptions. So please reach out if you'd like a copy. And we are going to be going through some of these a little bit more when we talk about self-compassion. So we will definitely be revisiting some of these concepts. So yeah, maybe you noticed that there was one or maybe a few concepts that resonated with you, and that might be more available for you to begin working on body image. If body positivity, just doesn't really sound like a place to start. So goals of body image. What's the goal and how do I get there? That's often the question, right? So there's no destination. And it's because it's not, body image is not on a spectrum or a process that you'll go from, negative body image to positive body image. Like we discussed in a previous slide about how body image, changes over a lifetime and even on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, it's not about going from point A to point B, which kind of leads into the next point. It's not about never feeling bad again. So we often think of it, as a failure if we are working on this and then we have, a quote unquote bad body image day. But we're human and we're going to experience, negative emotions regarding our body or just off days. And things like, body envy or comparisons. And knowing that we're human and these are actually normal human emotions, we don't have to spend energy trying to get rid of these. So the goal, if there is to be a goal, it's really about just bringing ease and acceptance into play. So I like the way Fiona Sutherland, the owner of Mindful Dietitian in Australia, uses a model of shifting from disconnection to connection. So we can get disconnected from ourselves when we, seek external things like weight loss plans and diet plans, rather than listening to our internal knowledge. So again, if there is a goal, it's just about kind of connecting with our bodies. So self-compassion. So one of the reasons why I really love this work is that the skills we learn to heal our relationship with food and body are, applicable to other aspects of our life. And so self-compassion isn't limited to thoughts about the body. So if you're learning these skills right now for, for your body image, you can definitely take these same skills and apply them to other aspects of your life. So I definitely want to talk about self-compassion misconceptions because this comes up a lot in client sessions. So it's really difficult for people to even think about having self-compassion, let alone start with some of the tools because there are a lot of misconceptions. And so much of, the marketing tries to really instill fear and shame, weight stigma so that we buy into the service or product. And a few reasons people don't engage in self-compassion is because it's considered self-indulgent. If we're self-compassionate, we'll lack motivation or become lazy or be considered lazy by others. We'll give up or maybe we'll feel worse. And self-compassion might feel weird. And again, that's normal because we haven't really been taught to be kind to ourselves. So we think of self-criticism and body hatred. We think that that'll motivate us. And studies have actually found that we kind of use that body hatred to keep us, being obedient and to keep us in line with what society tells us, we have to do, how we have to look. So, when self-criticism is motivating, it's only short term. So, the quote unquote health behaviors don't last long. And an example of this is, what we call what the hell effect that we see in dieting. So if you eat a cookie when you're dieting, or maybe you categorize cookies as bad, thoughts that often come up after eating the cookie are typically, "Oh, I've cheated on my diet. I failed my diet. I can't be trusted around food. I have no control. I have no willpower," right? All of these negative critical thoughts come in. And then the behavior is to go, "What the hell? I might as well eat the whole box." So we really need to ask ourselves, does negativity or being critical really help? And critical thoughts, they have us turning away from ourselves, whereas self-compassion allows for that connection. And in actuality, it builds a greater desire to take care of ourselves, to engage in those health behaviors that last a longer time. So we'll define it. So Kristen Neff has done a lot of work in this. Definitely a pioneer. So she defines it as self-compassion involves responding to personal inadequacies or failures with self-kindness rather than self-criticism, a mindful stance rather than over-identification. So that can mean over-identifying with being in a smaller body or maybe being an athlete, and the understanding that challenges are part of the human condition rather than isolating experiences. So, self-compassion is really about bringing balance to our negative emotions so that we're not, suppressing feelings or exaggerating them, spinning around in that negative spiral. And now we'll go through and explore developing positive body image through self-compassion. And so it's really through these three categories of self-kindness, mindfulness, and common humanity. So some benefits, self-compassion and body image benefits. Many people, especially those who identified as female, compare their bodies to peers and media images and consequently experience negative thoughts about body weight and shape. So self-compassion was found to be protective against these body appearance comparisons. And self-compassion has been shown to help reduce body and eating related disturbances. So, over-exercising, restriction, binge eating. And there's also evidence that body appreciation can mediate between body image threats like perfectionism and unhealthful eating behaviors. And in another study, participants who had high self-compassion recognized that there is no one universal standard of beauty and reduced placing all of their self-worth on appearance. So encouraging self-kindness and the perspective that everyone experiences disappointments and suffering could provide, a means to manage dysfunctional thoughts regarding the body, to abstain from unhealthy eating practices, and kind of go beyond ways to engage in positive ways of treating the body. So as we go through the next slides, know where you spend most of your time. Where are your strengths? Where are the areas that need growth? And just checking in, without the urgency to change anything. So mindfulness. So on its own, mindfulness hasn't actually been shown to reduce behaviors leading to poor body image, especially the ones that were kind of studied with body comparison. But it's definitely a first step in the process to have the awareness of the negative thought or the unhelpful behavior in order to kind of move on to self-kindness and common humanity. So it's kind of like a prerequisite. And so I'll list some examples. And by no means do you have to do all of them. I'm just including different options. So one is, finding stillness once a day. And, even starting with 5 seconds, just to kind of check in with your breath. And, finding stillness or meditation looks very different for people. So, kind of just bringing in the 5-second piece might be a start. And being aware of body checking behaviors. So maybe you find yourself body checking throughout the day, criticizing yourself in the mirror as you're getting ready in the morning, or maybe looking in the mirror after a meal. And it also involves grabbing or pinching your body. So checking in to see how much time you're spending here and what sort of thoughts and feelings arise and what kind of behaviors come afterwards. Right? So if we're engaging in this behavior, are we then maybe engaging in unhelpful eating behaviors that are kind of helping with our, eating disorder, right? Becoming the observer. So mindfulness is, it's a non-judgmental approach where we become the observer of our thoughts and feelings without trying to suppress or avoid them. So for example, you may say something like, my thighs are too big. And we can change that to, I'm noticing the thought that my thighs are too big. And so this, I'm noticing the thought, softens it and creates space so that we can get curious about the thought. Body messages. So I do this in group workshops. So what are the messages you've been told throughout your life? From friends, family, doctors, the media. And this is important in understanding our current attitudes and behaviors and kind of, again, teasing out what is truly yours and what is not. So one of the tools you might use is kind of checking in to see what else is going on. So when a negative thought comes up, you can, ask yourself, is there anything else that is bothering me or causing me stress, which I might be expressing by shifting focus onto my body? So often, for a variety of reasons, we are focusing on our body to avoid changing other things in our life. And social media. So here, just again, kind of tracking to see how much time is spent on social media or, what kind of pages you find yourself looking at. And checking in to see, again, what sort of thoughts and feelings arise and what kind of behaviors come afterwards. So that can really show us, is this helpful or is it unhelpful? And language. So what kind of words and phrases do I say to myself? So often it boils down to shame, which might sound like, I'm not enough, And who do you think you are? Who do you think you are being confident in your body? And so really kind of taking time here to, journal and just take notice every day or each week and see what kind of words start to come up. And photos. So, checking in to see, am I constantly zooming in on photos? Um, am I looking at past photos of myself and kind of seeing again what happens after you might partake in those behaviors or actions. Sorry, I'm noticing that the light is fading here, and you might not be able to really see me, and yeah, the sun's kind of going down. Okay, so self-kindness and body image. So we used to think that by only helping to address the negative body image thoughts and feelings and behaviors, that it would actually create a sense of positive body image, right? We thought, we have negative body image over here and positive body image over here. If we get rid of the negative stuff, then we'll automatically, have a positive body image. And that's actually not true. So what the research has found is, if we just focus on getting rid of those unhelpful behaviors, at best, it just leads to body neutrality. And, that's not a horrible thing, but it becomes challenging for people to get past that middle point to start actually feeling better. And so in the research, it's stated as, it's a lack of disease, but the absence of vitality. So to improve body image, it's really important to create self-kindness and to partake in those actions. So self-kindness can offer how to relate to stressful situations, especially when comparing appearances or bodies, so that we can build resilience or, a compassionate stance. So we can develop skills to accept negative thoughts about the body and to continue engaging in actions that align with our values. And one way to do this is when you find yourself comparing your body or criticizing another person's body, is to reflect on your values and traits that have nothing to do with your body or appearance, and to think of something positive about that person that has nothing to do with their body or appearance. So that may kind of look like, that negative comparison thought comes in, and you can notice that, have the awareness of it, and then substitute it for, or just, add in, that person is open-minded and we have great conversations. Or if it's about yourself, you can say, I'm thoughtful and caring. So again, one way to kind of help with that comparison is to really focus on traits that have nothing to do with body and appearance. So body appreciation, again, it's a form of positive body image, which involves just taking care of the body by proactively engaging in behaviors to accept and respect, protect the body. So here we're really asking ourselves, what can we do for and with our body instead of to our body? So things that we do to our body, typically in this kind of realm here, might just be over exercising and restricting food, to change our body. So what we can do for and with is, things like wearing a seatbelt when driving, grooming or hygiene practices like brushing our teeth or taking a shower. So kind of starting with, body respect, body appreciation, if we can't really get to that place of body positivity or really accepting where we're at with our body size, engaging in other aspects of body image can just really help to build that relationship and connection. And yeah, what would my actions be towards a friend in a challenging moment? So if we were going through a challenging situation and maybe feelings of failure are coming to mind, think about, what would I say to a friend in this moment? And really taking this question and journaling it and write down what you typically do, what you say, and note the tone in which you typically talk to your friends. And once you kind of have that established, you can really bring that into, I can have compassion for my friend, and I can use that to have compassion for myself. And to kind of go along with that is, what would my actions be towards a friend in a challenging moment? So the actions might be, holding their hand or forearm, giving them a hug, putting, a hand on their shoulder. So maybe you can begin to picture a time when you did that, or had someone else offer compassion to you. And again, we can use those actions on ourselves, right? We can hold our own hand. We can kind of grasp our forearms. We can place a hand on our shoulder and kind of give us, a little bit of a hug. And so it's this kind of act of, we don't necessarily need to change anything. We don't need to change the negative situation. Just in those moments, just, grabbing our hands. And again, just seeing how that softness kind of does eventually, change things a little bit. And for the most part, so a lot of folks can get stuck in all or nothing thinking, and perhaps we add something to those statements by using for the most part. Again, we're just kind of bringing some softness to these statements. So, for example, you might have said, for the month of June, I'm only eating organic foods. So instead, we can add, I'm only eating organic foods for the most part. And so that flexibility can kind of shift some things. Body functionality. So focusing on what your body can do for you. So again, when those unhelpful thoughts arise, appreciating that your lungs are breathing without you having to think about it. Just kind of switching to my lungs or my breath. And to be thankful that we don't have to think about it. Or that your arms can pick up your child. Self-kindness. So when we are aware of our struggles and experience them with a self-compassionate lens, we're more likely to actually seek support. And body image flexibility. So this represents a compassionate response to embrace rather than avoid and escape. So that might look like, all humans experience suffering, or again, kind of using that observant thought there, that, just observing the thought or feeling, just to kind of give us, a little bit of space so that we can get curious about that moment. And wearing comfortable clothing. So we often find that people don't purchase new clothing because they are waiting for their body to change before doing so. But wearing comfortable clothing is a form of body respect. It's not comfortable wearing pants that are too tight or a bra that is poking into our skin. So wearing clothes that fit can help our minds focus on other things because we're not experiencing physical discomfort. And body trust. So body trust can increase body image by establishing that relationship. So, honoring our hunger. It might look like, when we're tired, we take a nap or we go to bed early. If we're in pain, we take that moment to rest. And it could be, if all of these things are really overwhelming, we can kind of, realize what we're already doing, or maybe take part in some of these other things. Like if we're cold, we're going to grab a blanket. Needing to pee, we're going to go to the washroom. So all of these acts, they build on each other to develop body trust and self-kindness. So common humanity. So again, Kristen Neff defines it as by recognizing that as humans, we are vulnerable and imperfect and experience suffering, which is part of the shared human experience, something that we all go through rather than being something that happens to me alone. So feminism might be a concept that resonates with you. Research has found that women who identified as feminist or hold feminist beliefs rejected the societal norms related to beauty, and had higher body satisfaction, and helped to understand that external messages were external, and then therefore they didn't internalize it. So it kind of acted as a protective factor. And language. So we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but it's very common to hear body talk or fat talk. And often we're unaware that it's actually fat phobic. And of course, that's not the intention, right? Because we're talking about our own insecurities. We are all learning and unlearning here, and by no means am I shaming anyone. I grew up saying these things and engaging in conversations revolving around bodies and changing bodies. And especially for people who have thin privilege, engaging in fat talk, internally and openly with peers is not only hurtful to yourself, but it does perpetuate fat phobia. So being aware of the words and phrases like, working on my summer body or any sort of diet talk. And I put it in common humanity because, we all experience these insecurities, which is why it's probably common, that we're engaging in these conversations. But tuning into the language we're using can help us see again if it's unhelpful or helpful. When we're kind of engaging in that, what's the mood in the room really? And letting go of perfectionism. So this is a really big topic. But yeah, so perfectionism or all or nothing thinking. So it's oppressive and it keeps people small and preoccupied. And so we fixate on our inadequacies and mistakes rather than seeing that, again, all humans are imperfect. So meeting our imperfections with compassion allows that space to get curious so that we can actually learn from our mistakes. So our inner critic is constantly reinforced by the dominant culture. Making a mistake is confused with being a mistake. Doing wrong is confused with being wrong. And emotion. So we all experience envy and jealousy, comparison and shame. And we often don't want to admit that or bring that up with even our closest friends. But by recognizing that everyone experiences that, it allows us to really experience the feeling, allow that and explore what is really going on. So this permission reduces the negative thought spiral because these are feelings we can't eliminate, but rather we can change how we relate to them, when they show up. We're no longer relating to them as necessarily negative. We can get curious about them. So expanding beauty. So studies have found that when self-worth is not dependent on appearance, participants acknowledge that there is no one universal standard of beauty and that all people share in the human experience, and there is room for diversity when it comes to personal appearance. So a practice that we do in the Be Body Positive group workshops is to explore this through ancestral beauty. So what we do is, and you can do this as well, is journal about what aspects of your beauty did you inherit from your ancestors. So maybe you got your nose from your grandmother or strong legs from your dad to help you hike. Maybe you inherited your great-great-grandfather's musical talent. And so again, this kind of just like brings in that body functionality piece, acceptance, respect from a different viewpoint of really appreciating our bodies through the lens of ancestral beauty. Sorry. I just want to make a quick note that, we went through a lot of these concepts and various tools for each. And I just want to remind everyone, to focus on the areas of strengths and where you might want to invite some growth, what resonated with you, and really just maybe picking one from each or one in total to kind of start with, maybe like a journal activity, something like that. So I'm not going to talk about this here, but Kristen Neff talks about self-compassion versus self-esteem in a 20-minute TED Talk. And I just wanted to kind of bring it here and mention it quickly because these two concepts are sometimes considered the same. And here's just a quote from the Intuitive Eating book. As long as you are at war with your body, it will be difficult to be at peace with yourself and food. And lastly, I just wanted to bring in this, bringing in that self-compassionate piece towards the end, especially if your perfectionism is setting in and you may be thinking, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and say, I love my body. Or maybe the self-critic voice is active and this all seems overwhelming and hopeless. So check in to see where you are at on the stages of change model. And this was developed by the two psychologists down below. So I'll just read through the stages here. So pre-contemplation. This is not yet considering change or maybe unwilling or unable to change. And so it's focusing on awareness. Maybe you want to really educate yourself with these concepts and tools, just asking questions. Contemplation. So this is where you can understand the possibility of change, but there's uncertainty. So maybe you're exploring pros and cons. And preparation. So this is, you're committed to change, but there are some options and you're considering what to do next. Maybe spending time just creating and envisioning the plan, right? Not acting on it, but just seeing what it might look like for you. And action. So these are taking steps toward change, but it hasn't, stabilized. There's experimenting. There's trial and error and learning from this, processing those thoughts and feelings that we've had over a lifetime. And then maintenance. So this is where we may develop new skills and, we're actively working on maintaining the change. And this is really where you can find your authentic self and maybe develop other interests. So there is no one correct starting place. We're all on different journeys. And it's really about, starting with maybe unlearning, bringing awareness to your thoughts, and maybe starting with, like I said before, just like a journal activity, using one of the, questions to help prompt you there, or a mantra. Just to bring in some kindness during those challenging moments, to kind of soften them. And, so these are the resources. this is, this list could go on and on. So please reach out if you want more resources, or just people to follow on social media, because they do have quite the PDF of lots that you can look up. But there's the Everyday Feminism website. Kristen Neff's website has a lot of meditations, actually. And you can do implicit bias tests from the Harvard website there. And then also the Health at Every Size website as well. And then some people to kind of expand your social media if you haven't done that already. And yeah, that is everything. So thank you so much for attending and watching the seminar. Here's my contact information. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out. My website is there, and I don't really post a whole lot on social media. I'm really busy. I'm actually I'm in my last year of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, so I'm not doing a whole lot on social media these days. But definitely reach out and let me know if you want to, have another seminar and expand on one of these topics, or if you'd like to learn about another concept of intuitive eating. Thanks.
Thank you, Janine. That was wonderful. So we will open it up for questions now. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I know you gave us the list of links. So if this is, say, a new concept for someone, I know you said we can start anywhere. We can start with journaling. Should we just start going through that list of links, or should we watch the TED Talk first? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it might, well, depending on where you're at, like if this was really overwhelming, maybe just taking one of those questions and journaling about it. Depending on where you're at, maybe you've heard of some of these tools before and you kind of want to expand on it. So Kristen Neff, that self-compassion selfcompassion.org, her website, has so many other tools, and that would be a really good place to start. So yeah, kind of just depends.
Thank you. We haven't had any other questions come in quite yet. Maybe we'll give it a few more seconds.
Sure.
There is a little bit of a delay. So do you want to put your contact information in our chat, and I will put that in the YouTube live chat? Like I'll copy and paste it.
Okay,
Or
sure.
do you want to just say it? Oh, there, the slide's up. I didn't realize that. Sorry.
That's okay. I just switched it back, but I can definitely see if I can put it in our chat.
And then, so if there are questions, you can contact her. If you have other nutrition questions, you can also contact one of your nutrition consultants at Choices Markets. So you can give us a call, or you can reach out through our website, choicesmarkets.com. Do you have anything else that you want to add while we're waiting a couple more seconds?
No, I don't think so, but thank you. I'll just add that to the chat here. Yeah, thank you, Dion, for adding that as well.
Okay, so I will put your stuff in our chat. Okay, well, then I'm going to close it up. So thank you so much, Janine, for that information tonight. Really meaningful work. If you want to find out about future events, please visit our website at choicesmarkets.com. And like I said, if you have more nutrition related questions, reach out to your local Choices Markets, to one of our nutrition consultants. You will be sent an email shortly that will give you the survey, and we will ask you for your mailing address. So if you want to be sent the nutrition buck, make sure you give us the mailing address, because that actually comes to you by mail. And with that, I am going to say goodnight and thank you again, Janine. That was great.
Thanks, everyone.